Hello everybody, and here we are at the Jubilee Library here in Brighton, where Polina has joined me for a little chat before a performance, and we're going to get to know you because Polina, on YDM Radio Brighton, I've started a world music show, and I got to meet Phil, who runs Best Food Music, and he pointed me in your direction. And Polina, your music is
thank you.
So beautiful, and how you bring cultures together as well, and you work with a choir also.
Yeah.
So I really want to hear from you. When it started, what you're up to, how come choir rather than solo, for example? So there's a lot of questions, but let's start from the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in Siberia, in Russia.
In Siberia, of all places.
Yeah, several thousand kilometers east. Direct line going like from London through Moscow and further. That's where I was born.
Wow.
And I spent most of my childhood years and into my formative years, musically formative years, in central Russia, in Tatarstan, which is kind of above Turkey, but still to the east of Moscow. And it's a republic the size of France, quite a big one, where Tatars are the main population. They are Turkic with some Bulgarian roots, and they have the language that's very similar to Turkish or Kazakh. And they're Islamic as well, so it was like a melting pot of cultures.
Yeah.
And we also had a Jewish community there in Kazan where I studied, and I listened to all these different kinds of music, plus I studied classical music, so I had this mixture of things in my head. My mother was a singer. She sang classical and Russian art songs and a little bit of Russian folklore.
So that completely answers the question of growing up in a family of music.
We played music. My aunt and mother would just sing in harmonies, and my grandfather played this Russian accordion, Russian bayan, with buttons on both sides.
Oh my goodness.
This Russian bayan. He was a veteran of the Second World War. It was like a special family situation.
Wow.
So we did that. So I went to music school, started studying, and then realized that this academic musical path, music school for 8 years, you wait for it, 8 years music school, 5 years music college, and then 5 years at conservatory, which is like a university. So that makes it like 17, 18 years musical training, classical, and I played Schumann concertos and stuff.
Oh, wow.
But at the same time, I got just dragged into this more open-minded area of music, world music, or global music as we call it now, playing Russian folklore and Yiddish music, Jewish, East European Jewish music.
I love, I love how you said global music.
Well,
because
terms are changing, and what we used to call world, we're changing our approach to it.
I'm so happy you said that, because what I'm trying to get the listeners to understand, that world music is not what people imagined it to be, you know, or they have this stigma in their head. Oh, it's all, you know, I don't know, weird stuff in different languages.
Yeah, alien.
It's alien, exactly. It's not alien at all, because you've got artists from all over the world trying out other cultures' music and making it their own. I mean, you've got Joss Stone, who goes to Africa. There's a whole album called Mama Africa. You've got Mumford and Sons going and working with Senegalese.
We live in a big
artists.
Global community now, and musicians have a chance to listen to each other. We don't have to go to places to actually study some music. We can listen to it, and we can go online and study with people.
Yeah.
So it's an open world. So I think it's great.
And you mentioned online; it's completely changed the landscape.
There
as
we
well.
go.
Exactly.
There
It's
we
fantastic. So you reside in Brighton.
Yeah.
And how long have you been in Brighton?
18 years now.
18 years now! So is
Yeah.
this where you formed the choir to work with you?
I now have 4 different choirs.
4 different choirs?
2 in London. Yeah, that. Regular choirs. I mean, there are groups that I go and teach every year. There are festivals and seminars where I go every year or twice a year. But these are my regular choirs. 2 Yiddish choirs. That's East European Jewish music, Jewish song choirs. 1 in London, 1 in Brighton, and 2 Russian choirs. 1 in London, 1 in Brighton. Sometimes I bring them together. In fact, Phil Mins and I brought together my 4 choirs 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was just
it has to be
just
2
before
years
the
ago.
pandemic.
Yeah, just
before the pandemic, and we recorded together on a CD that's now called 150 Voices. I think you played something from it, actually.
I have.
So it's 4 choirs, and then I went to America and recorded with an American choir. That's one big CD. But it was a great experience to bring 4 choirs together, and we shared music. Wow. We didn't only sing Russian choir, Russian music, Yiddish choir sang Yiddish music. We linked them up musically, and we sang something in between.
Wow.
Translations and kind of mixtures and arrangements of both in one. And I love doing that. And I love introducing different cultures to each other.
Just because you said a lot about choir, so when you, after your academics and learning about music, and then did you ever think about solo career as
I have
well?
a solo career.
You have a solo. She has a solo career. Where do you fit it all in?
It's difficult. It's difficult. Well, I do perform with bands, and I've recorded with bands and traveled with bands, and I perform as a soloist, mainly with Yiddish music, not with Russian. It's my kind of it's a narrow field. It's easy to be a big fish in that small pond, but you have to still be something. So it's a big global network of Yiddish musicians. We kind of all know each other, or know somebody who knows somebody. So, and it's great to travel and to do this all over the world and to see places.
So when you say that's the genre of music that you play, is it old songs already written that you play, or do you write
Not only, I write my own as well.
You write your own as well.
At some point I just got bored doing the same stuff as other people did. I studied enough of the books, of the tapes, and stuff that other people did. And I realized that most people who get into both Russian actually and Yiddish music start with the same, let's say 20, 30 most known songs. Okay, once we've done that, where do we go from that? And I always think that it's really important to defer to a culture before you start taking it further. Study it, know how it's structured, know what the musical language is, the matter, how it's built. Know the tradition, know it well enough to take it somewhere. Not just scratch the surface and then I'm doing new music. But once I felt that I knew enough, I'm not a huge specialist, there are people much more brainy than me, but I felt I knew enough to use my knowledge to create my own material. So that's what I've been doing now.
And what are the topics of those materials? What do you sing about? Write
Love.
about?
Love.
L'amour.
Yes, I love love songs.
Don't we all?
I think, and love like not just person to person, but love to the world, love to living, love as a state of being, state of consciousness, and acceptance and whatever can, socially, a little bit of like we're all brothers and sisters and we all should love and understand each other. I very much like that approach, and let's open our cultures to each other and all that.
I love that.
I
love that.
Mainly all that. If it's an open subject, not a narrow subject that's only relative to this particular culture. I like it, singing in these languages, musically and both textually, but also I like it to be a universal subject, something that people can connect to.
Yeah, I agree, completely agree. And I'm hoping, and maybe you can see it as well, there's been a little bit of a social shift since the pandemic, because we are more connected in different ways and open and been through atrocities together online at home, watching them rather than being able to do something about it. When you said you sing in other languages, and this is something I'm always interested in, because I've met people that can sing in a language but not necessarily speak the language. How does that work for you?
Well, Russian is my native language, easy for me to sing in Russian, and I sing in Yiddish. So these are the two languages I sing in, and I didn't grow up speaking Yiddish. I studied it a bit back in Russia, and then I've sung so many different songs over the years, and I've studied it enough to sing and understand every single word, not just that, but how it's grammatically structured, all the interesting twists and turns in the text, and all the interesting, poetic things in the text. And I'm now, with the pandemic, getting to speak Yiddish better than it was very primitive, and now with the pandemic I can go online and study with American teachers in New York, which is what I'm doing now. So I don't speak it freely, but I can express myself in a very simple way. I can hold a conversation maybe like this, but 3 times as slow in Yiddish, which is great. Which is great, but of course I feel primarily it's a responsibility to this culture to know how to sing, what to sing, and how I'm singing it, and how I'm projecting each word into the world and to the audience who not necessarily, they may not speak Yiddish, and mostly they don't, but it needs to be understood, understandable.
I love it when I listen to your tracks and you're singing in Yiddish. I love that reminding me, because I've heard a bit of Yiddish growing up, the intonations of the words and how different it is, and it's like you think it's one language, but actually no, it's something else. And then you hear so many other similarities from other languages, because of course Yiddish,
But
like
Yiddish
Latin,
is a combination.
And it's a mother of many tongues, isn't it?
Yiddish is combines Old German, Hebrew, and Slavic languages, so it's already like an international thing inside
But
one language.
it became its own, so even if you spoke German, you wouldn't necessarily understand
you
Yiddish.
You don't understand one word and then it's all gone.
It's crazy. It makes you study hard.
Yeah.
That's what the Jewish religion does to you. It makes you study hard.
Oh,
yes, but that's another day. That's another day.
yeah.
Polina, it's been absolutely wonderful to meet you, honestly. And you're
Likewise.
going on, thank you. And you're going on stage in a minute.
Yes.
And we'll enjoy the performance.
And thank you very much for doing what you do. It's really important. I'm so pleased you're doing it.
Thank you so much.
Good luck with the show.
Thank you. You too.